Chapter 19. God opened my eyes to a lot of things that weekend. Not only things about Himself, but also things about people. I believe it was the next morning, and we were sitting in the kitchen. My mom was sitting there with us. After hearing about what had happened to me, she had no problem understanding what I had experienced. She believes without a doubt that she had been visited by an angel one night when she was younger. So she actually had a closer relationship with God than most people I knew. As we were all sitting around the kitchen table, she mentioned something about wishing she had a piano to play on. She wanted to worship, and the piano was one of the ways that she would worship God. I remember that almost as soon as I decided in my heart that I truly wanted her to have one at my house, Kelly mentions that she found one on Craigslist for $100. We all questioned if this could even be possible. A working piano for just $100, I thought. But with hope, we decided to call about it anyway. Kelly calls and speaks to a lady about it, and the lady tells her that it works and is in good condition. Kelly asked her if we could come see it, and she said yes and gave us her address. With a little surprise and disbelief, we all hop in the car and head that way. This was Saturday morning after all, and according to the world's teachings, Saturday is the best time to buy, sell, and trade things. Anyway, I remember getting close to the destination, and I began to notice that the area was starting to look poor. The houses were smaller, and the yards were not kept according to the world's standards of being neat and orderly. This image that I was seeing had been portrayed to me by the world as being an area that was dangerous, that it would have some bad people living there, people that I couldn't trust, and people that might want to kill me or harm me. The world had convinced me that it wasn't an area that I could feel safe in. I remember pulling up to the address we were given, and to my surprise, it was a church. It was a church that was getting ready to have church because there were people going into the church and they were dressed up. I was in shorts, flops, and a t-shirt. It was Saturday after all. Well, thanks to the brainwashing, conditioning, and training of the world, the first thing I noticed when I pulled up was that everyone going into the church had darker colored skin than me. They were all called by certain names that the world had created that stood for hate. The movies, TV shows, mainly news channels, internet, and also people in my family had convinced me my entire life that these people were different from me and that I could not trust them, that they were not as good as me, that they were not able to be loved, nor were they people that I could expect to receive love from. The world had taught me to see these people in this way almost every single time I had turned on the television. But today was very different. I remember getting out of the car and truly seeing them through God's eyes. I walked up to them as if I had known them my whole life, and I spoke to them as if they were like family. I did not see these people through eyes of fear or hatred, but through eyes of true love. God's love. God's love allows us to see each other as family. If it were not for things we see in the world and the things we see on the TV and the internet, we would have a much greater chance of being able to see each other through the eyes of love. Could you imagine a world where everyone truly saw each other through the eyes of love? Thanks to the mind control of the world, it's very hard to. But I think that we would all agree we would like to. I didn't realize it at first, but one of the men I started talking to was the preacher. I could sense that there was love in him as soon as he began talking to me. And he apparently could sense the love that was in me because he asked me if I was a minister of God. That was the first time in my life that anyone had ever had an impression that I might be a minister of God. not to the point of asking me anyway. So I proceeded to answer his question, and I said, "I'm not yet, but I want to be." And he seemed to be surprised that I said no. I told him I was there about the piano. He said, "Oh, yeah, my daughter had put that online. Let me introduce you to her." I could sense God's love in her, too. She answered all of my questions about the piano and let my mom go play it, which was the real test anyway. She said the piano was the one that they had been using in the church and had decided to sell it because they had gotten a newer one. My mom came back saying that she liked it. I said, "Great, we'll take it." And I handed the pastor's daughter the $100. The pastor soon walks back up and has some men with him that are about my age. He introduces me to his sons and tells me that they can help me load it up. Then it hit me. I drove there in a car. I didn't even own a truck. I would have to borrow one from the car lot and come back to get it. The preacher just smiled and said he would be happy to hold it for me until I come back. No one showed it, but that probably had given them all a pretty good laugh. To this day, we have never went back to get the piano, and the $100 just became a gift. It was later revealed to me that the piano was just the thing God used to show me something amazing that day. I remember walking into that church and feeling like I could stay and have church with them. I felt like I belonged there. For a brief moment, I think I actually had a thought about staying. I'm not sure if Satan stole it away from me just as quick as it entered, or maybe it just wasn't meant to be yet. But I think about what could have happened if I would have stayed and had church with them. What path would my life have gone down? That's one of those life-changing decisions that you can look back on and easily see that your life could have taken a completely different path if a different choice would have been made at that moment.